I can't seem to focus, and you don't seem to notice I'm not here. I'm just a mirror. You check your complexion to find your reflections all alone. I had to go. Can't you hear me? I'm not coming home. Do you understand? I've changed my plans, 'cause I'm in love with my future. Can't wait to meet her, and I'm in love, but not with anybody else. Just wanna get to know myself. I know supposedly I'm lonely now. No, I'm supposed to be unhappy without someone, but aren't I someone? Like to be your answer, 'cause you're so handsome. But I know better than to drive you home, 'cause you didn't invite me in, and I'd be yours again. But I'm in love with my future, and you don't know why. And I'm in love, but not with anybody here. I'll see you in a couple years. So obviously we are not actually actors. There is something to be the kind of idea. Obviously, some people have or I had a dream. I got everything I wanted. Now what you think? And if I'm being honest, it might have been a nightmare to anyone who might care. Thought I could fly, so I stepped off the golden. Nobody cried, nobody even noticed. I saw them standing right there. I kinda thought they might care. I had a dream.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all had a great weekend. We're gonna go ahead and get started for today. Now remember, the number one thing I want you to know right now is I need you to download and install this client right now. If you have not done so, we're going to be going there later in class. The Virabella client, we're going to be going there later in class. I need you to start downloading and installing that. If you haven't done so, stop everything, including listening to me. Just download and install that. Hopefully you've already done that, but if you haven't, make sure you do that right now. Download and install that app. Make sure you're up and running. We're going to be using that later in class. All right, so for today, we're going to be talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, and so just to get y'all in the mood for the future, here we go. Oh, a few announcements first. Again, make sure you download and install the Virabella client. That is the number one thing I want you to be doing right now. Download and install that client. We're going to be using that later today. Now, quick question. How many people got their apps approved since they submitted them last week? How many people have their apps approved and on the App Store? Who has their apps approved and on the App Store? Did anybody get through the approval process? Let me know in the chat. Did you get through the approval process? Some got approved Saturday, some still in review. Anybody else have any status updates still being reviewed? Okay, there's at least three out there, 2 still being reviewed. A lot of them still being reviewed, it seems. Okay, here's what we're going to do. User studies are due on Friday, but these are not in-depth user studies. What I want you to do is just turn in 30 seconds of somebody besides you or anybody in your group trying out your app. Now, I understand a lot of people still have their apps in review. 2 things you can do is you can either wait till they're done with review and then get somebody to try it, or you can get somebody to try it on your computer, just as you do it on the emulator. So 2 things that you can do. All for this particular user study, it's all about just getting somebody to use it. It's not really, we're not interested in getting in-depth things. We're not going to do we're not going to do time on task or anything like that. I just want to see that you got it in the hands of somebody else besides somebody in your group. All you want to do is basically film somebody using your app. Screencast would be best, but you could also just do it like with a phone over their shoulder or something. And you want them to kind of think aloud as they use it, talk about things that they're confused about, talk about things that they like. And so these are what is due Friday. This is per group, on a per group basis. So we're only turning in one of these per group. So not each person, but just one per group. Another thing that I want to mention is, we're starting to have a lot of project deliverables. And so I know that takes up time, and especially this user study, it's a short turnaround. So we actually are going to have one day off this Wednesday. We're going to have one day off of class. Use your class time during Wednesday to get somebody to try your app out. Again, this is all about getting somebody to try your app and seeing how that goes. You don't need to do anything fancy. There's no formal user study. We just want to get it in the hands of one of your users. All right, there we go. So now today we're going to be talking about VR and AR, and to get you in the mood for this futuristic technology, we're going to watch a brief clip of In the Year 3000.
All right, I think enough fooling around. We've had a nice little chat. I like the way we're off to a good 2010, but I think it's time to get serious here for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time we took a look into the future. The future, Conan? That's right, Andy. Let's look all the way to the year 3000. You're fired. What the hell? make the new Sherlock Holmes movie more appealing to today's audience, Holmes' famous catchphrase, "Elementary, my dear Watson," will be updated to "Google it, biatch."
MTV's Jersey Shore cast members, Snooki and The Situation, will have a child, which they name the Will Never Go to College.
Jesus will return to Earth and perform one more miracle when he sells a Chrysler.
Homeland Security will have to deal with another case of exploding underwear on an airplane after Kennedy Airport opens its first Taco Bell.
Tiger Woods will lose his final sponsor after Sal's Topless Car Wash in New Jersey decides they want to, quote, keep it classy.
All right. Hopefully that got y'all in the mood for futuristic technology, because today we are talking about VR and AR. First, I want to know, up in Mentimeter with the code 63760079, who has ever used VR and AR, and what purpose have you used it for? So who has ever used AR and VR, and what purpose have you ever used it for? So let me know in Mentimeter who's ever used VR or AR, augmented reality or virtual reality, and what and what have you used it for? So people have used it for gaming, for AR, for Pokemon Go. I've used it for that for sure. For VR, to awkwardly sit around in VR chat. That is a weird. I tried to check it out for conferences and stuff. VR chat is weird. Oculus gaming, cool. For me, whatever that means. Video games. Usually wants to play a game. A virtual racetrack. VR chat. VR for Gran Turismo. Making games in it. AR for Pokemon Go. Used Google Cardboard for RAM hacks. That's interesting. Hanging out online, meetings, watching movies, all kinds of things. So some of y'all have actually used VR, AR, which is a little bit unusual, to be honest. Like, not many people have gotten into that yet, although it is up and coming technology. Good to hear how y'all use it. Now, for those of you that aren't so familiar, let's go over real quick VR versus AR and whatnot. So virtual reality is a lot closer to the completely digital world. You cannot see outside of the goggles. You can only see the things that are created by the screens in the goggles. And yeah, so it's used often for video games, for immersive experiences, for like 3D video. Instead of going to the planetarium or whatever, you can see 3D video right there. You know, watch elephants walk by in front of you or whatever. So that's pretty neat. However, you can't see out of the goggles, okay? And that presents a lot of interesting challenges for VR. For people. Like, for instance, you don't know, like, where your coffee cup is. So, you know, you're playing VR and you need a drink and you can't find your coffee cup, you knock it over. Or you do find your coffee cup and you try and drink from it and you hit your glasses and you can't actually drink. So there's some issues. Also, finding your keyboard is a big challenge because you can't see it unless you use pass-through. You can't see your keyboard very well. So there's definitely some challenges to VR, but it's a really immersive experience. Everything, you know, you see everything through the goggles. You can be transported to a beach, to mountains, whatever. Now, augmented reality, on the other hand, is like more, so this is like Oculus Go, Oculus, whatever the other Oculuses are, things like that, HTC Vive. In the middle of the mixed reality spectrum is Pokemon Go, things people said they've been using AR on their phone, like Pokemon Go, where you can see through and get your little Pokemon. IKEA app where you can like place your furniture anywhere. I think Amazon now has an app where you can place stuff within your own room, see what it looks like in your own room. So that's kind of like augmented reality, but augmented reality light because you're doing it just through a phone. And then there's things like what's the Windows one called? The Windows version of augmented reality, HoloLens, where you can see the real world, but you can also see digital things. So the interesting thing is these are cool because you can see the real world and you can overlay things on it, but the limitations here is they're usually low res and there's usually extreme limits compared to this as to what you can do here. So just to give you some visuals around what's going down here, in AR, you can do things like this. You know, we're both, well, you look ridiculous, of course, whenever you have AR or VR on. But these people are, they have AR headsets, Windows mixed reality. They're watching TV, but at the same time, they can also be getting some stats on exactly, you know, what's going down in the game, some detailed stats on, in this case, Russell Wilson, the quarterback. So it's a great way to augment, you know, what you're already doing. Like, and you can imagine, this is an entertainment situation, but you could also imagine if you're going to fix a car and you had some AR headset and it was telling you like, yeah, this is this part, this is the broken part, you know, it could just help you through fixing your car, for instance. So now that you have a little bit of better understanding of what AR is, name some AR apps or experiences maybe that you've had or maybe just that you're aware of. AR apps or experiences that you have either had or that you are aware of. All right, on Minty.com, AR apps that you are aware of or that you have tried yourself. Let me know. Looking for augmented reality. Pokemon Go is definitely AR and definitely appropriate. Snapchat and Instagram, I'm honestly not sure. Maybe. The new Mario Kart game, that is absolutely AR, where you can drive. There's a physical car, you can drive it around your house. I asked for that for Christmas, but I didn't get it. Google Animals, probably. Constellation Finders, absolutely. Google Baby Yoda, I don't know what that is. Amazon shopping definitely has some AR experiences that you can do. All right, so good. I think y'all have a pretty good handle of what AR looks like. Now VR, on the other hand, you cannot see the outside world in most cases. Well, I mean, that's kind of the definition. You can't see the outside world. You have some kind of controllers, and everything that you see is through this headset. It's different from AR in that you cannot see the outside world, so it doesn't matter what's around you. And so it provides kind of a very different experience. It's good for games. It's good for immersive experiences. In the future, I imagine it's going to be good for movies. What VR apps or experiences have you guys ever done? And these are, I would say honestly, like they're a little less common. I've done a few. They had Arthur Ashe app up at one of the museums, the Virginia Museum of History, I want to say, that was in VR. Beat Saber, that's excellent. I've heard excellent things about that. It looks like a super cool game. Beat Saber is a VR game. Half-Life sounds like it would be a VR game. Virtual Desktop, very interesting to do your work in VR. Iron Man Flight Simulator, sounds like that would definitely be cool VR. Interesting that Breath of the Wild is in there. I guess that could be VR. VR chat is definitely VR. YouTube has some videos in VR, so you can watch like elephants. That's the one I've seen that's the coolest, is like you're in a safari in Africa and you can see elephants like walking all around you without the danger of actually being crushed by the elephants. So good. Y'all have a good idea of these. These make sense. Y'all have a good idea of the AR versus VR. Excellent so far. Today, we are going to focus on VR. We're going to focus on VR today. Now, I understand we don't all have headsets and stuff, but we are going to do as much as we can to get y'all kind of into the vibe of doing VR. So here's what we're going to try. Everybody, I'm about to end this stream. We are going to go to Virbella. So, Virbella.com. If you have not installed the client yet, first of all, what have you been doing? But second of all, please install the client, Virbella. I'll put the link one more time, but you should definitely have it by now. So, this is something that is semi-like VR, except, of course, you don't have to have the headset. In fact, I don't even know if it works with headsets. So, in just a minute, we are going to go to Virbella. Here's what you do once you're in Virbella. You're going to go Virbella up in the upper left. So, right up here in the Virbella client, there will be a go-to. Okay, so there will be a go-to, and you will go to classroom. All right, so Virbella, go to classroom, and that's where we're going to meet. Now, some people are saying theirs is still installing, so I'm going to actually, we're going to hold off for just a minute. I'm going to go through one or two more slides, and then we're going to go over to Virbella. All right, so we're not going there quite yet. I'm going to just a couple more slides, and then we're going to go over to Virbella. All right, one thing that you want to keep in mind when you are designing for VR is that there's a different way of looking at the screen, okay? The screen, yeah, you're going to make a login for Virbella and all that kind of stuff. Yes, you have to make an account, you can just make a throwaway account, of course, for Virbella, but make sure you're getting ready to do that, because we're going to be doing that in just a minute. So when you're making an app for VR, and making a user experience for VR, you have to think about different things than you might otherwise. Like, for instance, you got to think about neck and eye comfort. So your eyes are comfortable looking around kind of this circle. Imagine that you have this 3D space. Your eyes are comfortable looking around this circle. Your neck is comfortable about 120 degrees. And so if you put a bunch of content on the bottom corners where people are having to look way over here or way over here all the time, it's actually going to be a major issue. Like where you might naturally think, hey, I want to put stuff down in these corners to not take up prime real estate. Well, actually, you might have to put some controls like right here or some information right here, because that's where the person could actually see it without, annoyingly using their neck. So the screen layout of VR apps is going to be a lot different than desktop apps, and it might be different too than you would just intuitively think, because you're going to have to put some stuff kind of in their field of view if you want them to use it, which feels kind of wrong, but you don't want to have somebody using their neck like this all the time. So where you put it in the screen becomes really important. And you have less of the screen to work with, really, in some ways. And then you have to think about not only kind of where you put it in this flat screen, or kind of the flat part of their screen, but you also have this idea of where do you put it in 3D space. So you think about people can barely see here. This is the legibility horizon. This is the mid zone of where people could very clearly see virtual objects. And this right here, right in front of the user, is the interaction plane where they can easily interact with the objects. So you have to think about how far away from the user you put different things. Things you want them to see right here. Things you want them to maybe be aware of but not see in detail. And then things you want them to interact with. So where you place things in terms of how far away from people becomes very important, and that's obviously something that's not important when you're not doing VR. And finally, before, hold on, I'm gonna, yep. All right, before I go over to Virabella, you have to really think about where you put controls. So here is, I think, kind of what Oculus looks like when you're in 3D. You can see this is like the interaction plane right here. It's right in front of you, but not too close to you, but right in front of you, kind of like a keyboard area would be. That's where you're going to interact with virtual objects, including menus and whatnot. This is where you can see things. So this is a little bit further back, kind of in the observable space, in the, what did we call that? The virtual object space. It's probably a little bit closer, but you know, you get the idea. So that's where you can see things pretty well. And then you can see the like horizon, where there's kind of background objects that give you a nice vibe, but you may not even be able to see them super clearly, like the trees and stuff. And so that's how you start to organize VR. Now, we are now going to jump over to Virabella. Again, as soon as you get into Virabella, you can walk around for a second if you want to, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Virabella classroom, okay? And the way to do that is to go to the upper right of the screen in the Virabella client, and there's a Go To button, and you say Go To, and then there's a list, and it says Classroom. So I'm going to put that in the chat in case you forget it. Go to Classroom. And I'm going to give y'all just about 2 or 3 minutes to get on over there. I'm going to jump on over there, and we will reconvene in VR, where I will finish this lecture. All right, I will see y'all there. We will finish the lecture there. I'm stopping the stream here, but we will continue the lecture in VR. All right, see y'all there. Put questions in the chat. I'll still watch the chat, but we're going to end this stream.